We're speaking about the thing that we always come back to, which is literacy, numeracy, but also emotional rather development for our children. And we were actually paying attention to a study that came out recently that found that in Nairobi, Kenya, that 77% of children aged between the ages of 5 to 6 are not ready for primary school in terms of the pre-primary expectations. Kelly Eyre is joining us from Dibber International South Africa. Kelly, we've spoken a little bit about the challenges here. From your perspective, what is the ideal? Because many of us don't know, and we kind of winging it, right? So as an expert in education, what would you say is the expectation here, and what should we be looking out for as parents?
I think first and foremost, the highest priority, which I think a lot of parents undermine, is what you mentioned about the social emotional. The Nordic company that we come from, they are very prominent in the idea of being kind. They are very prominent in the idea of being confident and showing that to the world. We call it heart culture. It's the I, the you, and the we. And I think when a child is confident and can step into the world with confidence and stability and emotional regulation, their openness to learning is so much more increased when they have that confidence and are promoted to do well. I think foundationally next is the idea of play. A lot of parents don't play with their children. Remember, play brings fantasy. It brings that, what your discussion was earlier about curiosity and the love of learning. And I think if we take these two components, as little as they may feel, they are the biggest. And that's what's going to bring in your understanding of language and learning how words function in sentences, and not just learning the word the, but what it means in context. The same with math. A lot of parents think if my child has a general understanding of numbers and what they look like, then their math life is set. That's not necessarily the case. It comes from the simplest idea of pattern making, building blocks, building Lego. This is going to bring the idea of pattern making, and that's the idea of what you need to build puzzles, right? So it's that core of learning, which then becomes what we call a foundational triangle, where the top is laid and then the rest grows into it. Love of language is something simple as reading, and a fact that I love to throw at parents, and I'm going to bring this question to you too. How many books do you think a child should read by the age of 6 to have a good foundational learning? Benjamin, give me that answer, and I want to see what you come up with as an adult. How many books do you think they need to read? The books can be repeated, but how many in total do you believe?
By the age of 6, from the age of 1, right?
By the age of 6, to have the greatest foundational understanding of the love of language and reading.
Okay, I would say maybe there can be 3 pictorials from an early age between 6 to 1. Maybe 3 books that have a bit of words and a little bit of literature from 3 to 4. And then maybe like a proper kids book, maybe that you're helping them read through, like a Disney type of thing. Maybe 4. So let me say at least 8 to 10.
Palesa, do you want to take a stab?
You know what? I do agree with Ben, but I think it should be perhaps a lot more than 10. I'll double that and say 20, because if you read, a bedtime story with your child almost every night, you could have gone through quite a number of books by the age of 6.
Okay, so the correct number is actually 1,000 by the age of 6 in order for them to have
1,000.
How did you reach that number? Come on, tell us more.
So it's graded on the amount of exposure to language, and it's not necessarily about having words in books. It's about creating it. So when I came on to Dibber, it was actually an old DBE program, which is actually phenomenal, and it's not being used in schools, where they relate themes to books. And what ends up happening, especially in my classrooms within Dibber, is one book is explored each theme. So we run about 26 to 30 themes a year, and each book has its own theme as the age groups go up. So there's about 120 books in my total reading program, and they are literally exposed to this book every single day. Now, if you add that, I'm giving you a portion of that from the age of 2 all the way to 6, and parents are then reading books at night. That 1,000 is very attainable.
Wow.
My first reading experience was at 3, and that was just because my dad read to me every single night before bedtime. It's the
Yeah.
reason that I've written a children's book. It's the idea of that idea. So language, like you say, Benjamin, it can be acquired simply, and that's just by reading, by enticing, by looking at simple things like print awareness. If I say to you the big golden M, what are you going to tell me that is? It's McDonald's. So that is print awareness in its finest amount. And
Sure.
I believe with math, it should be coincidental. It should be the learning of numbers, counting street poles, counting whatever you can. That's the incidental way of learning that parents can then adhere to. And it's not that complicated. It's about counting how many mouthfuls at dinner time. It's simple incidental learning. And then when children go into school environments, we then scaffold that into knowledge base. You were talking about earlier, Benjamin, about outcomes, that we simply learn to rotate and to learn. It shouldn't be about that. How do we then know what we want to be when we grow up? How do we then find interest or create game changers in every industry? So foundationally, for me, it starts at the smallest of core. It's not necessarily about buying the right textbook or the right coloring book. It's about adding on to that intrigue and curiosity.
Yeah.
And we call it creating magic at Dibber. We create zones where children can explore and they can ask the why. And I don't think enough children are asking why.
You know, you just reminded me of very, very fond childhood memories, Kelly, because when you speak about learning in all situations, every time we'd move as a family from one point to another, my parents obviously sitting in the front, my dad driving, my mom next to her, my sister and I used to sit in the back seat, and throughout the journey, we'd play I Spy with my little eye. And one of the favorite games that we used to love to play. So as you're driving, would say, you know, like the McDonald's example, I spy with my little eye something beginning with an M, and then you look around in the streets and you're like, oh, over there there's a McDonald's, over there there's something else. And I just didn't realize that that was actually learning instead of just a fun game to keep us occupied before the next part of our journey. Well, let's wrap up this conversation. We have to go, Kelly. Where can we find out more information about Dibber International, and of course more information on learning in general?
So very simply, our website is www.dibber.co.za. We've actually just procured 5 brand new schools, which has steamed us into Montessori. So we're definitely taking up that avenue as well. We're on all Facebook networks. Just type Dibber, Dibber, and one of us will pop up definitely. And should they have any inquiries, just reach out to us. We are definitely able to assist. It's not just about getting children into our schools, but it's about reaching children who need it the most. So definitely you can find us anywhere on any platform.
I love that. It was a pleasure chatting to you once again, Kelly. Have yourself a great day.
Fantastic. Thank you to both.
That's a Quality and Pedagogy Lead at Dibber International South Africa, speaking to us about what every child should know and be able to do by the end of the pre-primary level, going into formal learning, which is primary school. That is Kelly Eyre joining us there.